All right. Welcome in, everybody. It is Thursday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Yes, I'm sure you've heard that once or twice today. This is The Slate. We are a DraftKings show. We take a look at everything that's going on in the world of sports, mainly professional sports, and we break it all down and we look at The Slate. Brendan Glasheen joined by Gary and Thorne. We're going to talk some NBA here shortly. Jeff Ulrich will jump in. 2 NHL games to discuss in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll work in some baseball, Red Sox and Blue Jays, the only remaining Thursday game, which starts just after our show ends, after 6 o'clock. So if you've got comments, questions, concerns, you can find us over in the chat feature on YouTube and Twitch, and we're also live on Twitter. Okay, Gary, and we've got a lot. Well, there's only one game today in the NBA.
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot, but of course, as we know, this time of year, lines are, this isn't like, this isn't the days of like January and February. Well, who's in and who's out? And we can't set a line yet. I guess you could set a line for tomorrow games. That happens during the season. But you kind of get a feel, as I say that, Kawhi Leonard's been out, Embiid's been out. Chris Paul might be out. So maybe I should take that back. But anywho, there are lines out for tomorrow, is my point. So we can look into tomorrow briefly. But we'll start basketball. Lakers, Warriors, LA up 1-0 in this series. I was happy to stay up for the entirety of the game the other night. Very impressed. Lakers, though, on rest, were good. And Golden State, despite not being the more well-rested team, had that final surge at the end to make things very interesting. They're laying 6.5. I've heard the stat now a couple times now, last night and today. Home team that loses game one in this best of 7 series in the NBA, they've won 15 consecutive game twos. Boston held that end of their bargain last night, going down 1-0, one game two. Another spot here. Now, of course, that's money line, but at 6.5, you willing to lay with the Warriors?
Still seems like a pretty big number.
Really?
I'll be honest. I was expecting maybe 4.5, 4. To get
4.5 was last game too, right? 4.5 was the game one line.
And look, the Warriors did have a pretty valiant comeback effort in that contest. You can go either direction when you want to start looking at. I know it's a little tiresome to just simply boil down the modern NBA into, okay, how did each team do from 3-point range? How did each team do from the free throw line? And you could go both directions here. I mean, the Lakers really, really outshot the Warriors at the free throw line. I believe Golden State only had 6 free throw attempts in that contest for a home team. That is a crazy low figure. Now, granted, this is something the Lakers have done pretty consistently throughout the regular season as well. They are one of the best teams in the NBA at generating free throw attempts. It's what they do. It's how they thrive on offense, particularly in the half court. However, with that advantage they had at the free throw line, the Lakers also shot just 6 for 25 from 3-point range. And generally speaking, teams who make 6 or fewer 3-point attempts in the modern NBA, you can generally count the ones that win games using that formula on one hand, especially when they're going up against the Warriors in Golden State. Generally speaking, that is a team you have to keep up with offensively. So I still think the Lakers have such a clear advantage on the interior. I mean, shouts to Kevon Looney. He is doing his absolute best. And that guy is one of the best rebounders for his size in the NBA, sort of like Chuck Hayes-esque in his ability to look bigger than he actually is. But the 23 rebounds for Anthony Davis, it's not going to happen every game. That would be insane. But I think that's a pretty clear indication of the advantage that Anthony Davis in particular has in this series. There is no one who can defend Anthony Davis on this Warriors roster. And at a certain point, that's such a major disadvantage to the Warriors that I think it's worth a couple points. I mean, I'm with you. I know the trend. I wouldn't be shocked if Golden State won this game. But if you take the Lakers plus 6.5, Golden State can still win as long as they just don't win by 7.
Yeah, my only concern, though, would be the minutes. 44 minutes for Davis in game one. LeBron, 40. Do they look at it? Now, I'm not saying they will, but to your point, like, do they look at this like, all right, we got the one we had to get. They prioritized game one. I heard Davis's post game afterwards at the Chase Center. We got the game we're supposed to get. We haven't done anything yet, though. So I don't know. I mean,
I would just be surprised. I mean, I think especially on the heels of the Kings Warriors series we just saw. And granted, that started in Sacramento. I know it's a little different, but we just saw the Kings up 2-0. Draymond Green not playing in game 3. And the whole world is like, okay, here we go. The Kings have this series. Like, they're going to take this game. They got this series. You can never rest on your laurels against the Warriors. This is a 4-time NBA championship team. I think the Lakers have enough veteran experience where Davis said the right thing, right? Like, you took a game. That's by the books. That's what you're supposed to do. But you got to be good in there saying we can get both these games. Like, we should be heading back to Los Angeles up 2-0. Like, I don't think they're going to overlook this game because you can't overlook the Warriors. I just think at this point, no one overlooks the Warriors.
I get it. And he's saying all the right things, but just looking at his track record historically, now the bubble year was outstanding. Probably was he finals MVP in the bubble? I can't remember. Or was LeBron got it?
I think LeBron
got it. Okay. Well, Davis was phenomenal in that postseason, but a lot of caveats, right? You had the time off to rest up, and for his body and his injury history, perfect scenario. But we know this in this postseason specifically, he'll have a big night, and then the next game he drops off significantly.
Yeah. I mean, it's a concern. Don't get me wrong, but you can almost, again, use this in 2 different directions. Like, you can say, well, you've got a couple guys in their Davis isn't in his late 30s, but he's obviously been banged up for most of his career. You've got an older guy in LeBron James who's logging big minutes. You've got an injury-prone guy in Anthony Davis logging big minutes. But because of those injuries that they were afflicted with during the regular season, I mean, we're sort of seeing this to like a lesser extent with Kyle Lowry with the Heat right now. When you don't play half the regular season, you don't have the sort of like tax on your legs that some of these other guys do. I mean, in a weird way, now that we're here and Davis is healthy, now that we're here and LeBron is healthy, it was almost advantageous for them to survive that period where they missed so many games because there's just not that level of taxation on their legs. I mean, LeBron, it's cumulative. He's got years and years and years and years of minutes on those legs. But I don't know, unless Davis actually leaves the game, which I'm not saying couldn't happen. It's Anthony Davis. I'm just not willing to hold that against him in a 1-game sample. Like, I just think he's healthy right now. I'm going to take that at face value. And he was so good in game 1. I just can't see how he has a letdown to the magnitude we've seen in the past from Anthony Davis.
Yeah. I get it. It was dominant, and the matchup matters. I understand that, and Memphis is down a couple big guys too. That's why I would say maybe there are some parallels. But Golden State, adjustments wise, I think will be more prepared. Memphis, there's just, as we know, there's a sideshow off the floor with that team. There's a lot going on there for that coaching staff. Anthony Davis, 4 blocks, and the block at the end on Steph was big time. He made great plays. He was excellent. He was very good. So. It's that argument with the NBA too, the spread being dead. If you want to take the Warriors, you probably want to lay the 6.5. You want to take the Lakers, I think they're either hanging around and they have a real shot to win this game, or they get blown out and they say, all right, it's not our night. I could see it going very similarly to how Doc Rivers was like, okay, let's sit these guys down and we'll call it a night. But I hear you. They can't afford that. They can't afford that.
It happens real fast. Like 76ers were hanging around in that first half, and then suddenly just, wow, okay, it's a 30-point game. Cool.
Yep. Anything on the total quickly?
I would lean towards the over just in general. The Warriors have been playing at a very fast pace in these playoffs. So have the Lakers. As I mentioned, I just think through sheer regression, the Lakers are going to shoot better from 3-point range, where the Warriors
24 in game 1,
more than 6 free throws. So I think there's going to be more like free points on the board for this contest.
Okay, 6 of 24 in game 1, the Lakers from 3, and that's what makes the win impressive. Just drop 117 and not need the 3. That suits your argument about siding with LA with the number. And they get to the line quite a bit. They slow it down because they know they can't shoot the 3 well.
I think they're number 1 in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. I could be wrong about that, but
it's
sure.
kind of by a lot. I've seen this out there. So since the Lakers lost to the Celtics in Boston in He might have been in February, March.
Something
I
like
can't
that, yeah.
remember. It was the controversial play at the end where Tatum hit LeBron and LeBron thought he got fouled. Then they went to overtime. Since then, the Lakers have just been
It's a great meme. Really, it was a
yeah,
fantastic meme.
the free throw rate for the Lakers since like there's the joke about the league's helping the Lakers now because LeBron lost his mind. But anywho. Any thoughts quickly on Boston, Philadelphia game 3 tomorrow night, Denver, Phoenix game 3 with the Celtics and Sixers tied 1-1, Suns, Nuggets. It's a 2-0 Denver lead.
I would just say my early lean is Suns -4. You know, I've been pumping up the Nuggets tires pretty hardcore the last couple months, and so much of that argument is just based solely on the fact they are a fantastic home court team. This game's on the road. And I think, you know, classic narrative here. I mean, we've been talking about the home team loses game 1, how often they win game 2 to kind of take back control of the series and right the ship. Suns have to win this game. This is a must-win game for the Suns. This is all hands on deck. This might be Kevin Durant plays 45 minutes. Like, they're going all out to win this thing, where I'm not saying, again, I don't think any team at this point, especially the Nuggets, who have been as disappointing as they have been in the playoffs since the bubble, I don't think they're taking their foot off the gas by any means, but there's one team who's backed into a corner right now, and it is not Denver. And again, they are not the same team away from Denver. So I think it's a pretty small line for the Suns, and I'm willing to think they get back in this series on Friday.
I think Chris Paul is out, right?
Yep. I mean, it's not official, but the thinking is
consider day to day was what the Phoenix Suns officially said 2 days ago. Okay.
Yeah, they're you know how it works in the playoffs. No one's ever going to come out and say he's out, but I'm sure he'll be listed as doubtful, because that's how these things work. But it does. I think the thinking was the soonest he will be back is game 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the Knicks and Heat don't play again until Saturday. They got the extra day with the travel. So Boston and Philly didn't get that luxury. They play tomorrow night. Boston -2. Okay, real quick before we get Jeff Ulrich on to talk some hockey. There is a baseball game. One left. Twins are up 5-2. Twins are winning. That makes me happy. Did you take the White Sox?
Yeah, I took the plus money on the White Sox. My mistake. Don't bet on the White Sox, kids.
I mean, Garion, like, you should have won this bet. Like they were now.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Don't
man on second, nobody out. Bottom half. There's a chance because
the White Sox don't win games.
Yeah, but they've had plenty of they lost the game.
They could have won in the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, but they don't win games.
Both of these teams had consecutive bunt pop outs.
Mm-hmm. The Twins were, I believe, both teams.
What a horrible division.
17 with runners in scoring position entering the 12th inning.
So we've got
great AL Central matchup.
Red Sox, Blue Jays. Red Sox plus 170 on the money line. Are they going to sweep your Jays?
They might. Look, the Jays are in a bad place right now. They have had a not so good series. At the same time, Kevin Gausman is one of the best pitchers in the American League. I don't feel like he really gets that credit sometimes. But he is coming into this game with a 2.33 ERA. That's backed up by a 2.38 FIP. He's striking out 35% of the opposing batters he has seen so far this season. My initial read on this game, and this is last night when I'm writing this up for DK Nation, the total for this contest was 9.5, which just seemed insane. Now, granted, all 3 games in this series to this point have gone over pretty easily. But when you have a pitcher of Kevin Gausman's caliber on the mound and you see a 9.5, I pretty blindly just bet the under, which I did. As you can see, it is now 8.5. I think the books kind of caught on to that. I'm sure a lot of people were following that line of thinking.
Would you go to that 9?
9.5. Yeah.
9.5.
So I'm thinking the thing that I would sort of transition to now is taking the first 5 under, which is 4.5. That remains unchanged from where this game was last night. I mentioned how good Gausman has been. I think Bayo is a very good pitcher. I think you look at what he did last season, 13 appearances for the big league club, had a FIP under 3. He is someone who has just had his fair share of unluckiness when it comes to batted balls in play. His BABIP is never good. And even this season, like his last start was really good against the Guardians, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 earned run. most of the bad numbers from 2023 are stemming from his first start of the season. And I think you have to put a pretty big asterisk on that game because it was the Patriots Day game. It was the 11 a.m. start. There is no pitcher on the face
and
of
the game was delayed. The weather
was delayed. He had to come back. But Lucas Giolito talked about this a couple years ago. No pitcher wants to pitch in that game. It completely throws off your timing. No one's ever pitched well in that contest in my recollection of it. Like, I just think for Bello, you're like, whatever. That was one bad start. He got Ohtani, he got Trouted. I think they both hit home runs in that game. It happens. Bello's a better pitcher than that. I think Gausman, like I said, is one of the best pitchers in the American League. I just think these two guys can keep this total below 4 runs for the first 5 innings.
Okay. So a Bello redemption start against a very good arm in Gausman for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's still a drizzle outside here in Boston. The weather, as we've talked about, hasn't been great. I guess it's supposed to clear up, though. I mean, it's just going to be cloudy. There's going to be no rain. High 40s. Okay, great. Jays have lost 3 straight. Boston's won 5 in a row.
4 straight, actually.
4 straight.
Yeah.
Could be 5. Red Sox could be 6 straight wins. We'll find out. 1 streak will end and 1 will continue. Set on that one.
I hope
you've got future standpoint, though. Anything you wanted to add baseball-wise? There was something you wanted to hit on, right?
Nothing in particular. I just thought it could be an interesting time to kind of look at the futures market and just the World Series odds and kind of where they stand after 1 full month of the season. You know, you've still got the Rays seemingly disrespected. I still don't really know where to go with Tampa. I think 7-1 is probably the right range. You know,
for perspective, folks, their odds were halved within 10 days of the season. They were 25-1, I think, in spring training, got down to 20-1. And then, it went from 25-1 to 13-1, like within 10 days. So just keep that in mind.
I believe Jeff Passan tweeted out a stat today, something on the lines of teams that have started with this winning percentage, that the Rays are 26-6 after 32 games. It's happened 5 times. 4 of those teams won the World Series. The other one lost in the World Series. So generally speaking, teams who start this well go very far and do very well in their MLB season. Maybe I sound like a broken record here, and I know Rays fans hate people when they talk about it like this, but the schedule has still been ridiculously easy. I mean, they had that 13-game run to start the season, and people go, yeah, well, they're 13-6 in their last 19 games. We told you they're good. That still includes 7 games against the Reds. 7 games against the White Sox. We just talked about how cursed the White Sox are and how terrible they are. There's a series in Cincinnati mixed in there. I know the Pirates started this series 20-9. The Pirates are bad. We all know this. They just happen to play in the NL Central. As it stands, the 2 series the Rays have played, and they swept Boston, granted, and Boston is clearly an above average team. But, you know, they lost 2 or 3 to the Blue Jays. They lost 2 or 3 to the Astros. I still think the reason they're 7-1, and I'm fine with it, is because the American League is clearly just deeper than the National League. I think the National League, you have the Braves, you have the Dodgers. The Padres should be there by the end, but they're going to probably have to play a wild card game with the Dodgers in their division. Same goes for the Mets. You know, those 2 teams might have to play each other again. But I just think the American League is a little bit deeper, and it's harder to necessarily say, even with the lead they've built up, that the Rays are just automatically going to win the AL East, even though they're 20 games above 500. So I would still say, like, the Twins to me, not a great team, but just with their path, I mean, they're going to win the AL Central. So a locked in second round playoff series, possibly. There's just so much value in that. So I think 20-1 for the Twins. There's still some value in that. It's a big couple weeks, really a big month for the Twins. Just knowing what we know as of now, their next 4 series, they go to Cleveland, which the Guardians are right back in it. I mean, 3 back, you're in it, but you're really in it for the division if you play well. San Diego comes to Minnesota. Then they got the Cubs, who have been a nice surprise early in the year.
Got to go to the Dodgers. Then you go to Los Angeles. That's to play the Dodgers. And then you get the Angels as well on that trip. So that's a sneaky tough month for the Twins.
I mean, it's tough. Look, but I truly believe 84 wins is going to win the American League Central. So,
which was,
you just got to keep your head above water.
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland, I never want to count out the Guardians. They're sort of like the junior Rays. You can just, they're so well run as an organization that it's hard to just say these teams aren't going to make it and do well. But coming into today, the Guardians' lowest isolated power in the American League, 27th in WRC plus. They just can't hit. And their pitching's pretty beat up. Like, even someone as good as Shane Bieber hasn't really looked like Shane Bieber so far this season. There's just cracks starting to form. And I think, again, every American League Central team is flawed. I just think the Twins are the least flawed.
Okay, there's your baseball segment. Let's welcome in the third member of today's show, Jeff Ulrich. Applause. Hi,
Hello.
Jeff. What's up, man?
Not too much. Just, it's boiling where I live right now. Just so hot. Can't even believe it. It's weird.
Is it really?
Yeah, no, I'm not joking. It's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit where I live right now.
Damn.
Where are you again?
I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. I don't know what's going on.
That's weird.
It's supposed to be like raining and like 50
The
Fahrenheit.
Oilers are so hot.
Gary,
Yeah,
and you're
the
in
Oilers are
Toronto?
too hot.
Just
Yeah,
about?
I'm in Toronto, yeah.
Okay. Huh. Canada.
It is not 90 degrees Fahrenheit here.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Florida, Toronto. Florida leads 1-0. And Seattle, Dallas. I would assume, Gary, and you're a Leafs guy, Leafs supporter.
Not really. I will say I've
Contractually obligated because he lives in Toronto. He has to.
Well, I'm sure this happens in Boston too. It's like, I don't care,
Yeah.
but I have so many friends who care that you're
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, I'm like, and it makes the city happy. I've watched all their playoff games, which is not something I've done in a long time. I'll say that.
All right. Jeff, are the Leafs in a prime bounce back spot tonight with Florida riding that high from Boston to Toronto, stealing game one?
I don't know if I'd call it like the prime bounce back spot. I'd definitely be nervous if I was a Leafs fan. Florida is insanely talented offensively. They're creating a ton of chances. Matthew Tkachuk's playing great. But I do think that, you have to look at the big picture of things. The Leafs, I made this case this morning. The Leafs have a really good power play. The Leafs handled the Florida Panthers pretty well in the regular season. And this is the third game in 6 nights for Florida. They didn't get much of a rest. I would not be shocked if the Leafs just turned it around here. They got some power play momentum, and they kind of just took care of things. So I'm looking at the reg line. I think that's a better way to play it. The money line it's just been hammered. It's a really public play. It's down to minus 200. Take them in regulation. Honestly, I think, and here's the thinking: if the Leafs win, they're probably going to win like 5-2. Like Florida will just, okay, we split it. This happens a lot in playoff hockey. The road team gets splits the 1-2, and then they come to the second game like, okay, well, we're not going to win this game. Let's just rest up. Let's just take the third period off. It does happen more often than you think, especially in the second and third round, where you're kind of trying to, mitigate the load and things like that. So I do like the Leafs and reg tonight. I think that's the play. I really do. Not super. Again, I'm not like say it's a lock of the century or something. I don't want it to come off like that, but I think it's a bet. I considered betting the Panthers again, but you've got Bobrovsky. He's been very up and down goalie. I just don't know how much you want to push it there by taking the Panthers again. So I think the Leafs probably even it out.
Any interest in, is the series number not appealing? It's even money, right? Plus 105. I guess you have too much respect for Florida to play the Leafs at plus 105 for a series price, right?
I mean, the Leafs are probably where I would be looking right now. I mean, like the time to get on the Panthers was obviously pregame. I mean, or pre-start. I'm not going to take the Panthers at minus 125. Like they were the time to get on them was before. So I think that if you're a Leafs backer, yeah, but I don't really have an interest in betting the series props for this.
Okay.
So yeah, I think
I guess I was just trying to highlight that
if you like the Leafs before, you should be definitely thinking about it because you're probably not going to get a better number. And if you do, it'll be them down 2-0 and on the road, which is not a good situation. So
right.
This is probably it if you like the Leafs. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I was getting at. Continue.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, and then the other series,
Road team also won
Kraken.
game one. Mm-hmm.
Kraken, really interesting team, man.
I think
the
what a crazy
series,
first period, huh? So the final score was 5-4 in OT. There were 6 goals in the first first quarter, first period. Pardon me. 6 goals in the first period.
Well, they had 3 goals in, what was it, Jeff? 45 seconds?
Yeah, it went from 2-1 to 4-2 in the span of basically I put my phone down for 2 minutes and I was like, what just happened? So yeah, it was a crazy game. That's kind of the Kraken though. Like they just offensively, like they run 3 lines and they run them at you the whole game. So they're really hard to pin down. Dallas still has the better upper line though. Seattle has almost entered into, I just don't really like kind of Florida territory, but I still was bullish on Dallas before. I still will ride with Dallas here. I think if you were going to look at a series line between these two, I would go to Dallas. That's what I'd feel best with, -120. Dallas is the type of team too, even if they lose tonight, like their offense can get so hot and they are good defensively. They could just reel off 4 wins. Like they are that kind of team. So I do have quite a bit of confidence in Dallas. I think that they're a good bet tonight. The way I would play Dallas is actually potentially looking at the team total. They're -210 on the money line, which again stinks. You could certainly look at them on the red line.
They have the same 60-minute line as Toronto, -125.
Yeah. So no shock there. But I think that the Stars have a better shot at putting some goals up. And if you look at their team total, over 3.5 goals is +110. That's actually better than you're getting on Toronto. I think it was +120 this morning, but it's probably moved. Dallas over 3.5 goals. Another good power play team. Again, their first line didn't do much, but they got Pavelski back, so they got a deeper rotation now. I think Dallas probably comes out and evens it. This way, again, if you get another high-scoring overtime game as well, you're not really betting against the Kraken. You're just betting on a higher scoring output. So I kind of like that play tonight. Also like Rupe Hintz, over 2.5 shots on goal, excuse me. He's had 9 shots in his last couple of games, but he's just a solid all-around producer. And I think he's going up against a weak center core in Seattle. I think he's just going to have a really big series. I think he's going to be kind of a guy who shows up almost every night in this series with a bunch of shots, potentially a couple goals. So,
okay.
The Bucks just fired their coach.
Wow.
Budenheiser.
No,
Coach Bud. Oh, it's like NFL. The Milwaukee Bucks. Wow.
What did you think I said? The
Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you meant Todd Bowles. It's like, geez, did they hate his draft or something?
It was interesting though. Like they didn't do exit interviews for the first time in forever. Like that's a pretty big red flag when no one's talking to the media after your season wraps up.
It's pretty crazy though that to fire their coach after winning a championship like 1 year ago.
I mean, he's the second head coach in the last 2 weeks, fired within 5 years of winning an NBA championship.
Yeah, it's so recent. That's bizarre. Anyways, it's the NBA.
Well, I guess we would call his season a failure, Giannis, because he lost.
There you go.
I hate to go there, but
that's a pretty big failure.
He doesn't get your road in terms of you get to have the growth and what this meant. Wow.
I mean, it's interesting though, because like Buds was basically coaching for his job the season they won the championship. Like he was going to be fired unless they won the championship. They win the championship. I guess it only bought him 2 years. Wow, that's it's not the most surprising thing in the world, just because again, I think Mike Budenholzer is renowned as not exactly the greatest coach in the NBA. But wow, yeah.
I mean, they were discussing his future and what they would do with him. Had it not been for Kevin Durant's toe on the line, that was probably a chance for them to get out too. And as we know, they went on to win the championship.
They were going to fire him if they didn't win the finals that year. Like it was that was going to be the escape path.
Really? Even if they got there?
The scapegoat. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There was talk that he should have been fired the season prior.
Right.
I mean, you only get so long when you have Giannis, right?
Yeah,
right, I remember. The season prior was the bubble when they lost in the first round.
I don't even follow the NBA news this closely, but I remember him being constantly talked about as being fired like a year ago. So,
yep.
Anyways,
to Jeff's point, Dallas Stars team total over. Yeah. They've played 7 games in this playoffs, and they've hit that total 4 times. I think I've got that right.
They've also hit it 7 times in their last 12 games as well. So if you just want to play the implied probability over the last little recent sample, it's a pretty good hit rate.
And they won when they lost game 1 to Minnesota in OT. They bounced back and scored 7. They scored 7 the next game.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's what I'm saying with Dallas. Like, even if they get down 2-0, I'm probably gonna. I'm just going to back them one way or the other. We may just be on the money line in the games going forward. But I think that they're a team who, once they get sort of on a roll, they can really just sort of roll over teams. So I think that eventually they'll do that to Seattle. But Seattle, man, very resilient. And I won't really be shocked if they win tonight. I don't think they're going to, but I won't be shocked. Anyways, really interesting series. I think it's going to be a fun series either way. So I don't think Seattle's going to go down easy. So. And if you're looking for someone from the Kraken, actually, I do have one more prop from that game.
Yep.
Oliver Bjorkstrom over 2.5 shots on goal. He has played really well over the last few games. He's been up and down all season, but I believe he's got 9 shots on goal the last 2 games. His time on ice has gone up. He's scored in, I think, 3 straight now. He's just a good player. And I don't know why he took so long time to get acclimatized to Seattle. Maybe it's just their style of play. It's a little bit more, 5-on-5-ish and attuned to just like rolling out 3 lines, but he has really come on lately. So over 2.5 shots on goal. It's like minus 135 or whatever, but he's a high volume shot guy. I mean, if he's getting 18 minutes, like you're going to want to take the over on him. So
anything from a future standpoint, Jeff, because of what happened in the first game of round 2 or the conference semifinals that you might be looking at now?
Like I said, my favorite team to kind of jump on would be the Stars. You're not getting like the super terrific, like crazy line or anything like that, but they're the team I feel most confident about long term. The Oilers have goaltending problems, and if they're not going to switch to Jack Campbell, that really worries me. I also have investment in the Oilers' future, so I'm not going to do anything there and add to the pain. I think the Devils are interesting at that number. It's a pretty big reaction to getting shellacked game 1. It's not overly shocking. I still think the Devils, if you're asking me, I think the Devils will win that series. It's just, they obviously don't want to get down 2-0 again, but they've shown that they can be resilient. I just think they're the deeper team. So that's kind of interesting. You can wait till tomorrow to decide there, but the Stars right now are the team I would jump on in terms of the series. In terms of the futures, I mean, I would say the Stars as well. I mean, I think they're going to have a path here. Like I said, I like them to get out of this round, even though they're behind. And I mean, in a straight up series with the Golden Knights, it's probably going to be about a coin flip. So, assuming the Oilers don't get through, even against the Oilers. So, Stars probably for me, but I just like the Stars in the series line right now.
It is a crazy list of teams. I mean, I'm not a big NHL guy, but man, that is an odd collection of teams remaining in the NHL.
It's very weird not to have Boston and Colorado in there, like leading the odds. These things, that's the thing. Like the Oilers were the favorites going into last night.
Right.
Now they're the 4th favorites. You're going to see these things flip a lot. Like the one team that's still not getting respect is the Kraken. But again,
I got them 17-1 the other day. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're plus 2,000 to start the round. Like, Florida was plus 1,000 to start the round. I mean,
right.
And that's what so that was the real value to start kind of before, but that's gone. So,
right. And I think right when we found out, so as of Sunday night, when we had the matchups established for the conference semis, Toronto was the favorite. And then that flipped again, right? Toronto was plus 350. So
the Maple Leafs is a favorite to win the cup. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be opportunities to get really good numbers, maybe on all 8 of these teams, with the pendulum swinging in these conference semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, you're already getting like good. That's a pretty solid number on Dallas, I would say. If you like the Devils, you can certainly take them too. So Dallas and the Devils right now are kind of where it's at. And Florida may, if they lose tonight, they'll probably go back into that territory as well.
Okay. Anything else before we go? Anyone else have thoughts? I was looking for odds for next year's NBA championship just to see if there was anything on the Bucks, or who's going to be their next head coach? Is it Nick Nurse?
I mean, it's interesting. There's only 2 open head coaching jobs at the moment. and Nurse isn't going to Detroit because Dwayne Casey's in the front office of Detroit. So maybe, ironically,
Nurse has been let go by Toronto, right?
yes. And,
Okay, that
and
happened.
ironically, the other candidate up for the Toronto head coaching job when Nurse was hired was Mike Budenholzer. So you might hear some Budenholzer to Toronto rumors swirling. I would not want him in Toronto, but that is another thing. I don't know, man. Like, you could make the case, and I look, you can't fire him after he won the championship. I understand that, but Darvin Ham was a massive coaching prospect. And I think that was part of the reason they felt a little rushed about, can we get rid of Bud, is because, hey, this Darvin Ham guy, his lead assistant, would be an easy way to replace him. And now obviously he's with the Lakers, and that is it is not a route you can go if you're Milwaukee. So I'm not sure exactly what they'll do with their head coaching position.
This feels like the Bruins with Jim Montgomery and Bruce Cassidy. Like, Bruce Cassidy still in the playoffs, and there's Jim Montgomery now going home after a record-setting year. That's what Mike Budenholzer's out the first round, out of a job, and Darvin Ham is up 1-0 on the reigning champs in the conference semifinals. That's not quite the same. He won a championship. He deserves credit for that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Packed a lot in there. Some basketball. Got the Lakers and the Warriors tonight. Got the Red Sox and Blue Jays to wrap up the day slate. It's now into the evening in baseball, and a couple of hockey games tonight, Stanley Cup playoffs. Thanks to Jeff Ulrich, Gary and Thorin, Brendan Glasheen, Eamon, and AC behind the scenes getting us up and running. You all have a great rest of your Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. We start with the Sweat at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Enjoy the games, and hope to talk to you tomorrow.